If you've ever looked at a healthy green plant and wondered why it just isn't producing much, you're not alone. You might see a tomato plant with strong leaves and steady growth, but week after week, the harvest stays small. Then, just a few steps away, another plant in the same soil seems to change almost overnight. Within days, it begins to grow faster, fuller, and more productive. This is where things start to feel confusing, because when you look closer, everything seems right. The plant is getting enough water, it has good sunlight, may even be using a reliable fertilizer. And yet the results are very different. What makes this even more surprising is that the cause is often not what most gardeners expect. It's not about watering more. It's not about adding more fertilizer. In many cases, those things are already being done correctly. Over the years, this pattern has appeared again and again in many different gardens. It's different climates, different soils, different plants. The same quiet problem keeps showing up, and if this feels familiar, it's important. To say this clearly, you're not doing anything wrong. There is simply something missing that is easy to overlook. Something small but very important. Before explaining why this happens, it helps to understand what is really going on beneath the surface of the soil. When we think about feeding plants, most of us think about fertilizer. It's the most common solution, and for good reason. Fertilizers provide important nutrients that plants need to grow. But plants don't just need general feeding. They need something more complete. Soil can look rich, dark, and full of life. It can hold moisture well and support plant growth. But even in good soil, there can be small gaps. These are not easy to see. They don't show up right away. They don't always cause immediate problems. Instead, they quietly limit how well a plant can perform. You can think of it like this. A plant may have most of what it needs, but not everything. And when something small is missing, the plant adjusts. It continues to grow, but it holds back in subtle ways. These invisible gaps are one of the most overlooked parts of gardening. Many gardeners never realize they exist, and because the plants don't completely fail, the problem often goes unnoticed. But over time, the difference becomes clear. To understand this better, it helps to look at how most fertilizers are designed. Many fertilizers focus on a few main nutrients. These are often the ones linked to quick growth, green leaves, or strong roots. And they do work, especially in the short term. However, plants are more complex than that. They don't just need a few key nutrients. They need a balanced environment where everything works together. When only a few nutrients are added again and again, the balance can slowly shift. The plant may grow quickly at first, but over time, it may become weaker or less productive. This is where a common misunderstanding appears. It's easy to think that adding more fertilizer will solve the problem. But in many cases, adding more of the same thing does not help. It can even make the imbalance worse. So the issue is not about effort. It's not about how much you are doing. It's about whether the soil is truly complete. Over time, soil naturally changes. Each growing season, plants take in nutrients from the soil. When fruits and vegetables are harvested, those nutrients leave with them. Water can also wash away small elements, especially in areas with heavy rain or frequent watering. Little by little, the soil loses some of its depth, not in a way that is easy to see, but in a way that affects how plants grow. The plants may still survive. They may still look healthy at a glance, but something is different. Growth may slow down. Fruits may be smaller. Yields may become less consistent. These changes are often gradual. That's why they are easy to miss. Many gardeners assume it's just the weather, or the season, or even the plant variety. And sometimes those factors do play a role, but often there is a deeper reason. And this is where we begin to understand what has been quietly missing. In addition to the main nutrients, plants also rely on a group of very small elements. These are often called trace minerals. They are needed in tiny amounts, but they support important processes inside the plant. There are several of these minerals, and together they help the plant function properly. They support how the plant uses water. They influence how nutrients move inside the plant. They also play a role in how the plant responds to stress. These minerals are not always included in basic fertilizers. And even when they are present, they may not be in the right balance. Because they are needed in such small amounts, they are easy to overlook. But their impact can be significant. When these minerals are available in the soil, plants often respond. In quiet but noticeable ways, stems may become stronger, roots may grow deeper and more stable, leaves may hold their color more evenly. And over time, the plant may begin to produce more consistent results. This does not happen all at once. It's not a sudden change. Instead, it is a gradual improvement that builds over time. One of the most interesting moments for many gardeners is when they begin to notice these changes. A plant that once struggled starts to look more balanced. Growth becomes steadier. Plant seems more at ease in its environment. This is not because something dramatic was added. It is because something small was restored. Not all gardens experience this problem in the same way. Some soils naturally contain a wider range of minerals. Older garden beds that have been cared for over many years may already have a better balance. Compost can also help bring in a variety of nutrients, including trace minerals. In some regions, the natural soil already contains many of these elements. Climate plays a role as well. In dry areas, minerals may stay in the soil longer. In wetter climates, they may be washed away more quickly. This is why two gardens, even close to each other, can produce very different results. It's not always about skill or effort. Sometimes it's simply about what is already present in the soil. As helpful as these minerals can be, it's important to approach them with care. Adding too much of anything can create new problems. Plants need balance, not excess. It's best to make small, gentle adjustments rather than large changes. All at once, mixing too many products without understanding their content can lead to confusion and imbalance. A calm, steady approach is often the most effective. This is especially true for gardeners who prefer a simple and comfortable routine. You don't need to do everything at once. You don't need to fix everything immediately. Sometimes, best results come from small changes made with awareness. One of the most helpful habits in gardening is simple observation. Taking a moment to look closely at your plants can reveal, more than any label or instruction, notice the color of the leaves. Are they even, or do they show slight changes? Look at the growth pattern. Is it steady, or does it seem uneven? Compare one plant to another. You don't need special tools for this. It's just a few quiet moments in the garden can be enough. Plants often show us what they need. The key is learning how to notice. And if you're comfortable sharing, I'm curious how often you check your plants closely during the week. Even a small habit like that can make a difference over time. As you begin to understand your soil and your plants more clearly, something interesting starts to happen. Gardening becomes less about doing more and more about doing the right things. At the right time, you may find that you don't need to water as often as you thought. You may not need to add as much fertilizer. You may simply need to allow the plant to respond to a more balanced environment. This shift can feel very calming, because in the end, gardening is not about constant effort. It is about understanding what is missing and gently restoring it. Small corrections made with care can lead to meaningful changes over time. And sometimes the garden improves not when we do more, but when we step back, observe, and allow the natural balance to return. Sometimes the garden improves when we simply step back and observe.